Okay, welcome to Uncensored Conservatism. This is episode number 305, and we got uh, actually a lot of stuff to get to here. So let's start in Ireland, where anti immigrant rallies took place under the banner, get this, make Ireland great again. Of course, counter protesters showed up flying communist and Palestinian flags for some reason, so go figure. Yeah, it's not just us here, it's happening in Ireland. The Bank of England is making a stir, creating a stir over their proposal to remove English historical figures like Winston Churchill and Jane Austen from banknotes and replace them with a more diverse choice of images. Some British singer named Lily Allen recently, I think she's like 40 or something, recently made some waves when she announced to the world that she doesn't know how many abortions she's had. Possibly 5, definitely 2, she said. What a fucking skank. And you may have heard about some British rapper named Bob Dylan. Get it? How cute. Yeah, he doesn't look it, but who shouted out, "Free Palestine and death to the IDF" at the popular Glastonbury Festival in England. The festival stated they were appalled by his actions and his views do not represent those of the festival organizers. And he looks like one low IQ angry man. I mean, Jesus, maybe the next time just don't invite rappers to a music festival in Glastonbury. Speaking of which, 4 pro-terrorist protesters were arrested for breaking into a British Air Force base and spray painting aircraft with anti-Israeli slogans and damaging some aircraft with crowbars. They belong to a group known as Palestinian Action. But there's no such thing as a Palestinian. Uh, this is Layla Ahmed, who admitted in court after initial denials that calling a nurse a Welsh cunt was not racially insensitive. When asked not to use such language, she told hospital security, "How is it being racist? You're white." Ay, ay, ay. The Home Office of Great Britain recently ruled that an Albanian with 50 convictions for burglary in the country can remain in Great Britain because his illegal actions were not extreme enough to revolt the English public. The 50 victims of his burglaries were not available for comment. Thomas Partey, having a Partey, a soccer player in England originally from the African shithole country of Ghana, was recently charged with not 1, not 2, but 5 rapes against 3 alleged victims. And this guy doesn't look very British to me. All right, so this is literally, this guy is a camel herder from the country of Qatar who attacked and tried to rape a nurse in a health clinic where he was receiving treatment for a rare heart ailment. He forced the woman into a cubicle when he attempted to rape her. And that's the thanks Great Britain gets for helping a camel herder from Qatar with a heart ailment. The Welsh Labour Party was recently revealed to be spending 20 million British pounds on translation services. No, it's not for their growing shithole country migrants. It's to get their over 800,000 Welsh speakers to speak English. This is the Welsh Labour Party leader, Eleanor Morgan. According to a study out of England, mass migration to that country is solely responsible for a 10% increase in rents. The impact is even more pronounced in the London area. Oh, gee, go figure. Moving on to France, Eric Zemmour was acquitted of inciting racial violence by a court in Paris. His crime was stating that immigration of people from shithole African and Muslim countries is responsible for France's increased crime rates. I guess you can't convict him for truth. Air traffic, well, actually you can in France, but air traffic controllers in France recently went on strike for better working conditions, affecting hundreds of flights to, from, and over that country in the middle of Europe's busy vacation season. Over 40% of flights in the Paris area alone were canceled or faced long delays. Where's the French Ronald Reagan when you need him? French officials are being accused of slashing rubber migrant boats headed from that country to Great Britain. If true, all the more power to them. 2 migrant couples in France, one from India and the other one from, I think it's Mauritania or Mauritius or something, were charged with, get this, illegally hiring, housing, and exploiting other illegal immigrants. That's what entrepreneurs. French police are reporting that burglaries are up this year in France and now average about 600 a day. That's a day, not a month, a day. Now, I wonder if that Albanian dude from England is making trips across the channel. Riyad Aoudjis, a French-Algerian man, recently threatened a French woman sitting under a tree, telling her to get out or he would smoke her and then cut up her dog. When the police arrived, he attacked them with a knife. This dude has 37 convictions, including sexual assault, but cannot be deported because he has French citizenship. An illegal migrant in France from Morocco is on trial for a double murder. He claims one of the murders was accidental. You see, his wife just accidentally fell on the knife. Seriously, that's his defense. Psychiatric exam revealed he rejects the French law and insists that Islamic Sharia law should be imposed. So French police were unable to stop a dinghy from loading up on illegal migrants in France headed for England because they're basically pussies. However, it was observed that one of the human traffickers were beating migrants with a cane for getting aboard too fast. Life on the shores in France. Friend of a woman in Belgium being harassed by an illegal migrant in Antwerp. The woman's friend, age 18, drew a knife and stabbed the prick in his side. He was later found unconscious and rushed to the hospital where he remains in grave condition. No word on whether the 18-year-old hero will be charged with anything at this point. Ursula von der Leyen, president of the EU, faces a no-confidence vote this week in the European Parliament. Although she's expected to survive the vote, it underscores recent frustrations within the Union, especially over COVID-era policies. A recent study out of Finland indicates that 77% of women and 70% of men will be diagnosed with a mental health or behavioral disorder at some time in their lives. This on the heels of a study that showed that obesity is increasing in Finland. Ismail Abdo, who doesn't sound very Swedish, was recently arrested in Turkey. He's the alleged leader of the notorious Swedish gang known as Foxtrot and was wanted by Interpol and Swedish authorities. His gang is responsible for narcotics smuggling. He's also allegedly responsible for the shooting at the Israeli embassy in Stockholm. And then what must scare the crap out of Russia, not really, reports out of Denmark are that they are considering drafting women into the military. So if a war does break out against Russia, this gives barbaric Russian troops more women prisoners of war to rape. Okay, this is Julia Klockner, head of the German parliament. She recently declared that neither a gay pride flag nor any flag supporting terrorists, the so-called Palestinian flag, would fly over the Bundestag. Further, she disinvited gay members of that body from a recent meeting, so good for her. Recent studies show that young people and some old people in the eastern stretches of Germany are increasingly accepting Nazism given the prevalent swastikas and pro-Hitler signs and propaganda in the area. Their preferred chant, foreigners out, followed by a Nazi salute. But fret not, Germany. Frauke Broses Gerstorf was recently appointed to Germany's top court. And what does she support? Well, to start, gendered language in the German constitution. And she fully supports the mandatory vaccination of all Germans from COVID. And finally, she wants to ban the largest opposition political party, the AfD, from politics. Oh my God. Thought it was bad liberals here in the United States. The German development minister, shown here, says that in order to beef up defense spending, they will cut back on foreign aid. Of course, all the NGOs over there are all up in arms. Oh my God, all those ungrateful Africans. The German parliament has voted to put a 2-year kibosh on a certain class of immigrant to stem the flow of family reunification. Not so fast, says the AfD. It only affects 10% of all immigrants in Germany. Let's get them all out. In the previous year, German officials note that almost 13,000 migrants have entered the country by air. The reason? It would appear you don't have to show any ID to enter the country in this manner, which is really pissing off the AfD and police unions. 1 in 5 illegal immigrants in Germany arrive by air now. Meanwhile, the open borders queen Angela Merkel, the former prime minister, recently declared at a conference that if anyone shows up on German borders seeking asylum, they must not be turned away and that they are to receive due process. That sounds kind of familiar. Incidentally, the number of migrants seeking asylum in Germany is considerably on the rise and expected to be larger than that shown in previous years. Where are they coming from? Syria and Ukraine. So, Germany is facing a shortage of skilled workers, and they've traced the cause of it: their immigration laws. Apparently, it's hard to navigate the process. As many Kenyans, yes, people from Kenya, are complaining. I got a great idea. How about training actual Germans as high skilled workers? And it's not like they're appreciative or anything. A recent poll out of Germany shows that about 25% of these migrants do not want to remain in Germany. They claim that they are discriminated against. That is, they're victims of racism. And that Germany is simply a means to an end. And hopefully that end is not the United States. German teen has been indicted for allegedly assisting in a foiled plot to bomb a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna, Austria. Guess where he's from? If you said Syria, give yourself 2 points. And guess who he contacted in Austria? If you said a member of ISIS, give yourself another 10 points. And that's what you invite into Germany, Merkel. So this is a do-gooder in Germany named Isabella D., who was tutoring an Iranian asylum seeker in Germany in German language. Unfortunately, that asylum seeker killed her and dumped her body in a river because it came to his attention that she was also tutoring other students. I mean, this is a case of jealousy. But that's what Angela Merkel invited into her Germany. Also in Germany, a Syrian national attacked 4 people on the train headed to Austria with a hammer. The 4 victims were taken to a nearby hospital after over 150 cops were called to the scene. Fellow passengers overpowered this fine migrant and asylum seeker, which Angela Merkel invited into the country. After reports of pictures here. After reports of 9 underage girls being sexually abused and groped at a public swimming pool in Germany by fine Syrian nationals, the local officials blamed the weather. It seems that hot weather frays one's nerves and causes Syrian nationals to grope underage girls at swimming pools. Thank you, Angela Merkel. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz recently endorsed a decision not to fly the gay pride flag over the National Parliament building in Berlin and said, the Chancellor, fly that thing on your own doorsteps, not over here. And it was reported that over 800,000 working people in Germany were dependent on what they call citizens' income, but what we call welfare here in the United States. Incidentally, this is the first year since 2023 they've seen an increase of recipients in Germany, which coincidentally is the same year that country instituted a minimum wage. And part of the problem may be that in Germany in 2024, they spent over 17.68 billion euros on housing support. In US dollars, that's $20.8 billion. And half of it went to house foreigners that Angela Merkel welcomed into the country. Oh, God. Austria has decided to rename 2 streets in Hitler's hometown of Braunau. They were named after a composer and an entertainer who supported Hitler. This is his actual home, was purchased by the government a few years ago. They wanted to tear it down, but people said no. So they put this plaque out there. Austria also deported a Syrian back to that shithole country, the first such deportation in 15 years, after the dude was found to be a member of ISIS. And this after this fine piece of human scum spent 7 years in an Austrian prison. An estimated crowd of up to 200,000 people defied a police ban and turned out in Budapest, Hungary for their annual Gay Pride parade on June 28th. The liberal mayor of Budapest declared it a municipal celebration and therefore immune from national law. This particular harlequin looks quite, well, I guess, shall we say, gay. Some political figures in Poland are decrying illegal immigration of people from North Africa and the Middle East to Europe, and they're pointing the finger at Germany. Some are even endorsing private citizens assisting Polish border security personnel, and they may have justification. This is a Polish citizen named Claudia Kay, age 24. Well, she was. She was stabbed in the neck and head at least 24 times by an illegal immigrant from, of all places, Venezuela. Another scumbag who overstayed his visa. But hey, whatever. Oh, I forgot to mention, tell you she was also raped. Italy announced that they will issue nearly 500,000 work visas through 2028 to address an alleged labor shortage in that country. Visas will be issued to applicants from non-European Union countries. Well, at least they are legal, so. A businesswoman and socialite got mugged by a migrant from Morocco in Italy. She used her $94,000 Mercedes to chase him down and run the bitch over. Pull it in reverse and then run over him again. So she's on trial now for murder, and there's one less migrant Moroccan mugger in Italy, and she would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those pesky surveillance cameras. So, 5 bodies were found off Mallorca in Spain. They were illegal boat migrants, and they were discovered with their feet and hands tied. Now, you would suspect murder, right? But you'd be wrong. Apparently, this is some Islamic tradition, and they simply died at sea after drinking seawater and their own piss. So, no murder there. They were tied up by fellow Muslims and tossed overboard. According to a recent YouGov poll, about 50% of Americans now support sanctions on countries that purchase Russian natural gas and oil. There is some pending legislation about slapping a whopping 500% tariff on countries that do. And speaking of Russia, the United States indicted 11 Russians who will never see the inside of an American court for bilking Medicare for $10.6 billion in fraudulent claims. They apparently stole private patient information and charged Medicare for expensive medical equipment. Pro-terrorist backers are claiming again, and this is getting boring, that the recent airstrikes by Israel on Iran were actually a distraction from Israel's quote-unquote continued genocide in Gaza. This is rhetoric from some Israeli quarters are calling for the destruction of Hamas in Gaza. Boo fucking who? Stay on your side of the border the next time. An economic summit in Tianjin, China is decrying the fact that the Chinese economy is showing signs of weakness. Household consumption is down, and the automobile industry in China seems particularly vulnerable. Yeah, maybe Trump is right about something. We can't have him winning now, can we? By the way, China is imposing a new 34.9% tax on brandy from the European Union after the EU launched a probe into Chinese electric vehicle subsidies. Apparently, trade negotiations between China and the EU are not going too well. So, welcome to the real world there, Europe. Some people from Bhutan or elsewhere were deported by the Trump administration, and they somehow ended up in Nepal, best known as the home of Mount Everest and Yeti. But now Nepal is deporting them out to India or other places. The deportees are now being twice deported. So, I mean, even Nepal doesn't want them. Australian authorities are warning of potential terrorist strikes against tourists after 11 explosive devices were discovered in popular tourist sites in Thailand. So if you're Australian and you want to get your dick wet in a Thai chick or dude, just remember, it may come with an explosive orgasm. Australia also announced that it has canceled the visa of alleged recording artist Kanye West, now known as Ye. His supposed offense is being a Nazi sympathizer. I mean, come on, just because you release a song named Heil Hitler and write anti-Semitic shit on social media doesn't make you a Nazi sympathizer, right? I mean, come on, who's with me on this one? Jamaica is taking their demand for slavery reparations from England to King Charles. The king remains technically Jamaica's head of state after the island gained independence in 1962, and only he can carry their demands to Parliament. King Charles asks, what's the Jamaica? I guess he's looking for this. This guy's old as fucking dirt. It's like Biden age. A 2-day summit of something called BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is taking place in Rio de Janeiro. The focus will be on governance in the global south, climate change, and vaccines. However, there will be 2 conspicuous absences: Putin of Russia and Xi of China. I guess it's not BRICS anymore, it's BIS. Yeah, it doesn't have the same sound. Paris fashion show decided to be political and decry the terrorist prison in El Salvador, recent home to regular old Maryland dad Abrego Garcia. Some knuckleheads donned all white and did some stupid shit on the runway. Anyway, this prompted the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, to threaten to send some of the prisoners to France whenever France is ready to accept the scum. No word on France yet from what they're saying, but Colombia managed to seize what is believed to be an unmanned submarine designed to smuggle drugs into the United States. Although considered a trial run since no contraband was found, get this, the submarine is guided by Starlink, the creation of no other than Elon Musk. So some economists in Canada are warning of an upcoming decade of thrift and a lower standard of living. And while economic hard times are coming to Canada, their prime minister is meeting with like Native Americans because, they're on stolen land. Elsewhere in the Great White North, officials note that online hatred against South Asians, like, the Durka Lurka type of Indian, is on the upswing. Thankfully, the same study found that online hatred against Muslims has stabilized. So if you're a Muslim from South Asia, you're basically hated. On July 1st, it was Canada Day, unless you were in Thunder Bay, Ontario. There they celebrated Indigenous Survivors Day, encouraging people to reflect on the fact that their land, Canada, was stolen from the Indians. No, you lost, guys. If you had fire sticks and stayed away from the fire water, who knows what would have happened. Mexican authorities reported they found 20 dead bodies, some of them decapitated, in that country. They're believed to be the victims of the Sinaloa drug cartel and what the United States is up against in fighting illegal immigration, trafficking, drug smuggling, and other things. These are some really not nice people. And finally, 2 Hispanics are expected to receive hefty sentences for human trafficking after 53 dead illegal immigrants were discovered in the back of their tractor trailer in 2022 in Texas. Among the dead were 6 children and 1 pregnant woman. Hopefully they suffer in hell. Or better yet, just send them here. And that's it for today. Thank you. Have a great day. More pleasant tomorrow. Might be taking up birthright citizenship tomorrow. I'm not sure.